to the season 4 finale of Rediscovered Movies. I'm your host, Nomfanelo and Malloy. So today I'm joined by special guest. Welcome back, Khalif.
Hi. Nice to be back.
Hey, it's great to having you here. So we're going to continue our discussion with Charlie's Angels, where we'll be talking about the sequel, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. So that movie is a 2003 action comedy film. It's directed by McG, who's known for directing films such as Terminator Salvation and The Babysitter. The screenplay is by John August, Cormac Wibberley, and Marianne Wibberley. The film stars Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu. Here is the synopsis. The Angels, played by Lucy Liu, Drew Barrymore, and Cameron Diaz, are ready to go undercover to retrieve two missing silver wedding bands containing valuable encrypted information, the new identities of every person in the Federal Witness Protection Program. When witnesses start to turn up dead, only the angels can stop the perpetrator by using their expertise as masters of disguise, espionage, and martial arts. So the film was released in theaters on June 27, 2003. It had a production budget of $120 million. For box office, it made over $227.1 million worldwide. Domestically, it opened at number one opening weekend with over $37.6 million. It beated films including Hulk, Finding Nemo, and 28 Days Later. In regards to critical reception, it has a 2.8 rating on Letterboxd. It won two Razzie Awards for Worst Remake or Sequel and Supporting Actress for Demi Moore. It received four MTV Movie Award nominations, which included Best Action Sequence. So at the time of this recording, it is streaming on Tubi and Club Elysium and is available on demand, so check your local provider. All right, so we could get into first discovery. So, Khalif, you want to start?
So, once again, this movie came out 20 years ago as it was now. And I don't. I remember I watched it, like this other one, just like rented it from Blockbuster one night, because I very distinctly remember the opening scene. When I watched this one and the other movie, there were times where things would happen and I'd go, oh my God, I do remember that. Like that whole opening scene with them in Mongolia and everything. I don't know why, but that stuck with me. But none of the rest of the movie. But I remember having a good time 20 years ago.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So, for me, I actually saw this movie in theaters at the time it came out. I think I saw it with a classmate of mine. I don't remember, but I remember like I enjoyed it at the time. But just as the years go by, I mean, it's pretty obvious the flaws are very noticeable, and it has like an interesting concept, but it's just the way that it's executed is bad.
Interesting. Some choices were made by McG for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could get into the highlights. I would say for me, I like the idea of having a former angel as the villain.
That was really cool. But I looked it up and she wasn't from like the movie or anything or the TV show back in the day. I guess it was just a former agent like in lore.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not too sure like about that myself, but I imagine it was a new character created for the TV series.
Yeah, I think it was
For the
because
movie,
I
sorry.
couldn't find anything online about Demi Moore being in a previous Charlie's Angels thing, but it was cool to have her be like the main villain. That's always fun.
Yeah, and I liked how with her characters, she essentially knows what to expect from them, which she often points out when confronted by the angels. So I thought that was fun to watch.
Like when she shot them and said, like, back in my day, we didn't have bulletproof vests. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that was a good one.
But she was surprised that, if you remember, during like that final fight at the roof, where she's like, "Oh, you used that move and all this." I forgot the exact words, but
It was like she named a thing and then said like the something caper or something like that. Like the
yeah,
classic gambit. That's what it was.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I like that too. It's a good nod to them, you know? Shows her
Hmm.
history.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny that she pointed out, if you remember, when Madison and Natalie are at the beach, she mentions that, oh, I know about you guys through the newsletter, which I found was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Charlie's just sending a newsletter with birthday updates and everything too, just so everyone can be in the loop for sure. It's a good organization.
Yeah, but I find it's kind of funny because I mean, it's safe to assume at this point it's more of a spy agency than a PI firm,
Yeah,
and they
probably.
have a newsletter.
Direct calls to this, like the chairman of the FBI and a newsletter.
Yeah.
It's a big organization.
I wonder if the newsletters are weekly or
Mm.
monthly.
Quarterly maybe, yeah. A lot of redacted information for sure.
So
Yeah.
funny. Another highlight I had is that I liked how, with certain moments, it included the angels, I guess, as a team, perhaps, because with the opening sequence, if you remember from the first movie, I believe Alex and Dylan were more involved with the action, while Natalie was more of the getaway driver on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But then with this one, like all three of them are involved with the action, so that
Yeah.
was cool.
I found even in the fights too, like in the fights, they were like using each other to springboard off each other and helping each other
Hmm.
with like kicks and things like that and throwing each other. So yeah, they were way more involved in this one, more united.
Yeah, yeah, and also too, when it came to the dance sequence, if you remember from the first movie, Natalie was dancing by herself with the Spider-Man underwear, while in the sequel here, all three of them are dancing when they are helping Natalie move into Pete's new home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that they became more friends with each other. It's
Yeah.
a good because there's like a gap between the movies, so you get to feel that they had that time together as friends.
Mm-hmm. Because I imagine like the three actresses, they probably bonded like on and off set. So clearly, with their dynamics is working for me.
Oh yeah, like how could you not get along with Drew Barrymore? She seems so cool. She seems very chill.
Yeah, I mean they all do, but yeah, for sure, for sure. For me, also, what I liked is that with this movie, even though it has its issues here and there, I do like the idea of the angels being expendable in this movie,
Mm,
because clearly they're being like threatened by not just Madison but with Seamus,
yeah.
and that kind of leaves Dylan to consider like leaving the agency, which she does at a point, but she did at one point a daydream about replacements, and
Hmm.
that sequence was hilarious.
I did not expect the Olsen twins. I did not expect them. Forgot that they were in there.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of cameos in this movie, but
No Tom Green though. No Tom Green. That's a bummer. But
no,
Melissa
no
McCarthy
Chad.
made it back.
Yeah, yeah, as a different character.
Yeah. Hmm. I did like the Thin Man's return. He was I wasn't expecting him to come back at all, but when he did, I was like, the Thin Man, yeah, weirdo.
Oh, I have issues with him for the Lowlights section, but
No, no, he was weird for sure, but just I was surprised that he was back at all.
yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I'll talk about more in that in the next section, but
Well, then, what did you think about all the like the little references and nods to the first movie that they did? Because I found that a highlight. Like, I liked how they said that this movie would be better because there was 13 writers on this one. I thought that was a funny joke. The more cooks in the kitchen definitely make the soup better. He's right.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I enjoyed the references, and with Jason, like clearly like he's supposed to be like a knock on Tom Cruise, like with the Mission Impossible
Yeah,
franchise. Because
yeah.
if you saw the poster for Maximum Extreme 2, it's very similar to Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I feel like they
Yeah.
were around the same time that those movies came out, right? So it was probably like little
Yeah.
jabs that they did. That's cute.
Yeah, yeah. So funny.
It's very funny.
Absolutely. In regards to fight scenes, I would say my favorite was when the angels are fighting Seamus and crew when they are
Mm.
at his warehouse, I suppose that is.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
Like the
there's a
dock or
lot there.
whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of flying in the air, and Seamus,
Yeah.
like he essentially kept going. He was like the he was like the Energizer bunny in this movie.
Well, the way he jumped off the boat and then
Yeah,
landed and was fine? Like,
yeah,
what is up with him? What's going on in
yeah,
Ireland?
yeah. And then he walked through the fire.
Yeah, just completely unfazed and then said, "You can't hurt me anymore."
Hmm.
Okay. If someone walks through fire, I'm just giving up because what more can you do? She put up a
Yeah,
firewall.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. There was a lot of flying in that scene though, because after when they left the warehouse or whatever, they went up through the window and then
Hmm.
grabbed planks of wood in
Yeah,
midair and then
yeah,
used that to skateboard. They're
yeah,
ninjas. They're not angels. They're something else.
yeah, yeah.
My goodness.
But yeah, I would say yeah, I enjoyed that whole sequence was pretty cool.
It was very cool.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure like when the lights were off, when they were doing like those
You're
finger
just
moves to
like,
each other, like was it supposed to be Morse code they were doing? I don't know what
that's a
that
good thought
was.
because I had genuinely no idea what they were doing. Like the
Yeah.
lights go off and they're just standing behind them, tapping on each
Hmm.
other's hands for some reason.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're wide open. What are you doing? That did get me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah. I assume it was Morse code or something, but
That makes a lot of sense. It's a good observation.
yeah. Also, to what I liked, we get to see more of the angels like outside of the workplace, which I found was cool.
Yeah, a lot of more slice of life stuff with them.
Yeah, because with Alex, it seemed like her and Jason, as he describes, are on a timeout, whatever that means. But clearly, they're still together as a couple.
Yeah. It's very funny to have Joey from Friends be the one that's on the break.
Yeah. So funny. And then like we also have her father played by John Cleese. He arrives and he is stunned when he finds out about Alex's like real job.
Yeah, the entire time, I assume thinks she's like a prostitute or something, and is progressive, but not that progressive, I guess. But okay. 2003, you know?
Yeah.
That was a funny, like, storyline there with him.
And with Natalie, her and Pete, they move in together, and they attend
Yeah.
his 10-year high school reunion.
And Natalie completely destroys the bathroom. That was a
Yeah.
good bit. My goodness.
Yeah, and then the dance sequence she does to Last Dance was a fun
Mm.
sequence.
I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, it's interesting that Cameron Diaz is the one to get the dance sequences in all the movies, but
Yeah.
it was a good one.
I mean, it fits with her character more than the others, but
That is
sure.
true. Yeah, Dylan's not a big dancer for sure. Or sorry, Helen Zass, as they called her. Yeah, her name.
Yeah, what did you think about the name? I thought that was hilarious with the last name.
I did think it was funny too, and I made jokes about it, so I'm glad that the movie also made jokes about it with me.
Yeah, yeah. Because I wonder if the name is supposed to be like European descent or something
Probably,
like
yeah,
that.
something like that. But Helen's ass.
But at least how like with that moment, at least with Bosley, he kind of like helps her out and saying, "Oh, I care more about you than joining in on the joke." But
Yeah. No asinine jokes from him.
yeah. And what do you think about this version of Bosley?
Well, like I said, not Bill Murray, so two thumbs up from me.
Yeah,
Bernie Mac is a funny guy though. I really enjoyed his scenes and his scenes with his mother too. That was Bernie Mac's mom,
yeah.
phenomenal actress there. Just the
Hmm.
come inside. You know what you've done. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, he was a delight to watch. Because I thought at first, like, were we not supposed to take him too serious? Because he seemed pretty new at the job, but it
Yeah.
seemed like he got the hang of it as it went on.
He grew into the Bosley for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was funny when he takes Max, played by Shia LaBeouf, to South Central.
Yeah. The safest place in anywhere, And then the first words out of his mouth were like, what trouble did you get into now? What do you need?"
Yeah,
Classic him.
that was hilarious. And so and also too seems like apparently him and Bill Murray's Bosley are brothers.
Well, yeah, I think like the mother took in Bill Murray as like an apprentice years ago because there's a Bill Murray picture in the house there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess Bill Murray just didn't want to be in the movie. Or maybe McG didn't want him around after their fights and stuff.
Yeah, probably. But I wonder though if it's implying that his character died.
Oh, you think? Maybe.
I
That
don't
would
know,
be
cause
sad.
yeah, because they just show like his picture in the frame. So again, I don't know.
It did seem very in memoriam for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Although,
oh
speaking
well.
about Shia LaBeouf, how did you feel about him? Was he a highlight or a low light for you?
I didn't really think of it like because at the time when I first saw this movie, like of course he was big with Even Stevens
And
and all
holes
that
and all that
stuff,
stuff.
and yeah, rewatching it now, I didn't really think about the stuff that he's got going on, but
He was a
yeah,
little bit of highlight for me because he
yeah,
was funny, but it felt like they just forgot he was there and he was just around.
yeah, that's what it, yeah, I got that too. Maybe that was the intention. But at least his character was safe. He did not get killed by the
Thank goodness. Yeah.
assassins. Yeah.
His little joke where she said, "What's a kid doing here?" And he says, "I'm 15 and a half." Okay, young man. Okay. Okay.
That's hilarious. With its use of humor, there were some funny moments throughout this movie. As an example, when they did the CSI parody when they were heading to the crime scene.
That was a good one. That was a good one. I did not expect that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Because like at the time when I first saw this movie, like I did not watch CSI at the time, but I was aware of the show. But when I decided to watch the show, I think it was like in the mid 2000s, and then rewatching scene from the movie, I laughed immediately with that.
I was
So
huge into CSI like back then, so when I saw that,
yeah,
like the part in my brain just clicked. It activated me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's too bad that the show is not on right now, but
Yeah,
oh well, what can you do?
fair.
And I thought it was like a funny transition. After when Bruce Willis's character gets killed off, it immediately cuts to MC Hammer's "You Can't Touch This" on
Yeah,
screen.
you can't touch it. No, fair.
Yeah.
That's true. This movie was a lot funnier than the second one or the first one. I have to say, a lot more jokes that I wasn't expecting and things like that.
I would say for me, it's quite on par, but they really included more laughs with this one. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fair.
yeah, so were there any highlights you wanted to share?
Um, I just like, yeah, all the references to the first movie. I thought that was really funny. They kept the
Yeah.
explosion happening before they got into a car. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a bummer that Demi Moore won a Razzie for it because I really liked her in this. She seemed really cool.
Well, I guess the Razzies didn't at the time, so
Yeah. I also thought Seamus was cool. I love some good
yeah,
Ireland representation, but
yeah,
obviously not Ireland as thugs and stuff. Ireland has a
yeah,
lot to offer.
yeah. But the actor playing Seamus,
Really good.
he's not Irish.
Oh,
Yeah, he's American.
okay.
Yeah,
Fair point.
yeah. But he was great. Like, and he was so physically ripped when they kept showing the chest area.
He's a
So
big boy, big lad.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that motocross. Was it a motocross or motorcycle? Whatever that was.
Oh,
With
yeah, I think it
that
was like
sequence, yeah,
the motorbike scene.
yeah, I
That was
really
good. It was
enjoyed
cool.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Really
Even
cool stunts. They were
y-
flying in the air and stuff.
yeah, and like yeah, the cameo by Pink, who also did a song for the soundtrack.
Lots and lots of cameos and favors they had with this one. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think about the Pussycat Dolls sequence with them dancing at the treasure chest?
Um, interesting. Once
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
a choice for the costumes, very 2003.
yeah,
um, it was cool how they were all ninjaing and stuff, and like
yeah.
snuck away the guy's like ID badge and his papers and stuff. The
Hmm.
Bernie Mac scene after it was very funny, where he was pretending to be a black
Yes.
Irishman. That was funny.
Yeah, Patty O'Malley.
Not suspicious at all. Not suspicious at all. Uh, that was good. But yeah, the,
Yeah.
the scene in the treasure chest was a little bit iffy. I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, like I didn't really had too much thought into that, to be honest. but
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, because I mean, apparently that's what goes down with the. Because I think the Pussycat Dolls, they had a club at the time, like a burlesque club.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, I believe so. I mean, I don't think they have it anymore. I'm not too sure about that, but
I don't know if they're a band anymore. I don't know.
I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I think
But
they all hate each other too. I know Nicole Scherzinger like has enemies for sure.
yeah, I mean that's what happens essentially. Just
Yeah.
happens. But yeah, like I would say, yeah, like I enjoyed, yeah, like it has I would say a lot of cliffhangers at
This
times, like
film?
yeah, like when the angels got shot by Madison as they were descending into the air, like I thought like, oh, did they get killed off?
Yeah.
But then it's revealed that, oh, they're wearing bulletproof vests.
It was odd how they were like on the ground, all sprawled out in like a dead like position, and I'm just
Yeah.
sitting there like, guys, you can get up. I don't know if it hurts that bad. I've never been shot, like thank God, but like it
Yeah.
really took them out.
Yeah.
I thought you're trained for this.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they wanted to pretend to be dead so that Madison doesn't, finish them off. But
Yeah, yeah. They oversold it a little bit.
yeah, and I would say like with that car crash with Alex, when Alex and Dylan they fly off, and then you had Natalie fighting Madison in the car.
Yeah.
That was quite a tense scene there.
I thought Demi Moore did like a really good job. She was a
Yeah.
really cool like spy person, femme
Hmm.
fatale. I also enjoyed the scene where they had like the different organizations going up to see who was going to be the buyer for the rings, and then
Hmm.
Seamus's gang just like pulls the shotgun on him, and they're like, "Yep, you're gonna do it. You get it." That was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that was a fun sequence. Anything else you wanted to add?
Um, Good soundtrack again.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I liked how Firestarter was playing when Lucy Liu was starting a fire. That was
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I thought the soundtrack overall was fine. I think I enjoyed the first one more than
fair.
this
Yeah.
one, but yeah, like "Feel Good Time" by Pink is a fun song, and when that movie came out during the summer, like that song was pretty much everywhere at the time. It's a cool, catchy beat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I can see how you like Independent Woman more than the Pink song. That's totally fair. Pink's
yeah.
no Beyonce. Shout outs Queen Bee.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we could get into the lowlights section. For me, one of the main issues I had with this movie is its priority of style over substance, because it was very clear that I imagine, like with CGI, VFX being a big thing at the moment, they wanted to take advantage of that and that clearly showed throughout this movie because I felt parts of it just looked off from a
Yeah.
visual standpoint. Like when they do a lot of like the close-ups, it didn't look great, and during some fight sequences it looked very cartoony.
Like the helicopter when they were falling with the helicopter.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It looked very dated for sure. Like very 2003.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I feel like at times a lot of scenes felt like music videos because clearly,
Okay.
yeah, because they had a lot of how can I say, like the it felt like jukebox songs they had throughout this movie. I don't know, but
I don't know. I can see that. That's very fair. Yeah.
yeah,
That was very common, like back in that era, to have like music videos that they cut from movie scenes and stuff like that. So that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, because I know that the director he used to do music videos, so
Oh,
I don't
that
know
makes
if
sense.
yeah, I don't know if those choices were intentional, but
He was shooting scenes and then they tap him on the shoulder and they're like, McG, this is not a music video. There's a movie. There's a story here. He's like, oh my God, sorry. Pink was playing. I got confused.
yeah.
That's probably what
So,
happened.
yeah. And there was like a moment when the angels when they break out of that out like that display case, I don't know what to call it, and they were
Yeah, what was up with
naked.
that? For no
I,
reason.
I don't know.
And like, not only were they naked, but they also had clothes with them inside the marble. Why didn't you not wear the clothes?
But how they showed it is that they broke out, they landed, and then they just went off camera.
They just like stayed in a huddled over position for a little bit and then walked
Yeah,
off. Yeah, that was a weird one for
yeah.
sure.
And also too, like a lot throughout this movie, with Madison. Like, I mean, clearly, like we knew that she was the villain, but they concealed her identity by showing like shots from the behind
Hmm.
to conceal her identity before the big reveal.
Was
I
that not
thought,
believable for you? Did you did you catch on?
no. I mean, we it was obvious it was her.
No, it's fair. Maybe I watch movies like a child. Maybe I have no object permanence. That's why. When she was off screen, I'm like, what happened to Madison? Where'd she go?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just me then.
Yeah. So also too, because as I've mentioned, like there are ideas like for this movie that works, like in regards to the angels being expendable and dealing with a villain that used to be part of the team. But I feel like the plot overall for this movie just feels convoluted.
Yeah, it it felt like this one and the other one. The evil villain had like a specific person they wanted to kill, and they were
Yeah.
doing some grand like plan that involves the whole world to kill this one person. Like in the other movie, they were using everybody's cell phones to triangulate just Charlie. And in this one, they're exposing everybody on like the witness protection list
Yeah.
just for Helen. Like it's just too involved for the one person you want to get. And
I
that's the
mean,
problem.
I don't think Helen was the main target, but
No, not for Madison, but just for Seamus and everything. And just like
yeah. And it seemed like for her, her motivation is what she wants money, is why she wants to expose this list.
yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I did not get that at all, but oh well. Oh well.
It's Madison's beef, not mine, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, yeah, perhaps. And another thing I didn't get was why the Thin Man was in this movie. Because clearly in the first movie, he was a villain.
Yeah.
And it seemed that he got killed off when the place exploded because he didn't show up afterwards. And then all of a sudden, he just appears out of nowhere to kill the assassin. and all of a sudden he's the good guy now. Like he's been
Well,
reformed. I have questions. Like, what happened?
he wasn't just there to kill the assassin. He was also there to rip out some more of Demi Moore's hair. Or, yeah, Drew Barrymore's hair.
It just that did not make sense at all. Like he did not need to be in this movie at all. Like I mean, I get that they probably like the actor and all that stuff, but just
Yeah.
from a story standpoint, it does not make sense at all.
He was like so close to saying his first words and then he died again. Shame.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was going to, but
We never know. We'll never know now. We'll never know.
yeah, and then all of a sudden to have him fall for Dylan, that did not make sense at all. That just came out of nowhere.
She falls for the bad guys, you know? She loves a good bad boy.
Yeah, but he's good in this movie, so he's not really a bad boy.
Well, a good bad boy. She likes a good bad boy. Yeah, that didn't really make any sense to me either. And how he
Yeah.
still had his umbrella or his cane sword. Like, he can't leave home without his cane sword.
I mean, I guess that's his weapon of choice, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Also, too, there was a moment when, during the Mongolia sequence, when the angels are in their fighting stance, it sounded like Dylan was barked like a dog. If you
Yeah.
remember that,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. Like,
Interesting choice. I mean, it works to scare people off, I guess. Intimidating.
but it sounded like a sound effect, though. Like,
Yeah, it was
not.
very much like added in after.
Yeah,
Didn't sync up.
yeah, I did not.
It was a choice. It was a choice they made. Somebody said, "Are you sure she's supposed to bark?" And he said, "Yeah. She's gonna bark. It makes sense. Yeah."
Yeah. And also, too, as a final note, I had so after like the confrontation with Seamus, so Dylan she decides to leave the agency, but then at the bar when she's talking to Kelly Garrett, who was a former Charlie's Angel, she implies that she's doubting herself as opposed to keeping the others safe. I did not get that.
Very flip floppy from her. But
Yeah.
it was interesting to see a former angel. That was a cool little nod.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
that was
about it.
nice. Even though I have no connection to the TV series, but I mean, that was nice.
Me either. Me either. But yeah.
Yeah. So, were there any other notes you wanted to share for this section?
So a low light for me is I notice all the time when there's like product placement in movies. And this one was just pretty blatant. It wasn't a bad thing. It didn't like take me out of it, but it was just funny to see Bosley like pull up T-Mobile and I guess like their promotion at the time of like the T zones or whatever. And it's like, yeah, T-Mobile paid you a lot of money to have that in there in the movie. And it made no sense.
Yeah, and also too, like with this being a Sony movie, Sony movies they tend to show a lot of their own product placements.
Yeah.
I don't know if they showed that a lot for this movie, maybe, but
There wasn't too much that was like glaringly obvious besides
yeah.
the T-Mobile thing, but it was just like T-Mobile, don't forget about us. Like, especially because like we're not American, but I know that Americans have a lot of problems with T-Mobile. So it's very brave of them to be like, "Hey, we're the nation's telephone provider," when they're not.
Yeah, that's funny. So, anything else you wanted to share?
I think that was about it. I guess my other low light would just be like, why was Shia LaBeouf around barely? You know, like he was there, and then they forgot all about him, and then he was just at the end a little bit. That I didn't really
Yeah.
understand what his point was.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be a witness, right? But it seemed like after defeating the assassin, they just forgot that completely.
They had too much other stuff going on. There was like Lucy Liu's dad being there, and the whole Pete storyline, and Drew Barrymore's storyline. So it's like, where does he fit in? He was
Yeah.
supposed to be important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we could get into the trivia section. So there wasn't a lot of fun facts for this movie that I could find, but here's a few that I was able to get. So Bill Murray, as we've discussed, Bill Murray, so he did not want to reprise his role because he refused to work with McGee again. And
Oh,
apparently he had, as we discussed, he had the issue with Lucy Liu in the first movie, but publicly insisted that Lucy Liu was not the reason for his departure.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't want him around.
Yeah. So Bruce Willis, who cameoed in this movie, so apparently he asked Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, and Lucy Liu for a favor for his cameo, so that they would do a PSA for adoption, and they gladly did it.
That's cool. It's a good
Yeah.
cause. Adopting children or pets.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you remember the flashback scene with Helen and Seamus, so apparently Drew Barrymore wanted Living on the Prayer by Bon Jovi in that scene, but apparently the rights for the song were expensive. So Drew Barrymore, she called John Bon Jovi, told him how much she loved the song and how important it was to her to be in that scene. And Bon Jovi apparently found a loophole to allow them to use the song.
That's pretty cool. It's cool that
Yeah.
she just has John Bon Jovi in her phone and can call him up.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, like, if you remember School of Rock, the Jack Black movie. Apparently they wanted to use, I forgot one of the band's name. I think it was a Led Zeppelin song, but
Okay.
apparently it was too expensive for the song. So so he and the cast, they filmed this video to say, hey, like, can you like allow us to use the song for the movie? And they must have saw it and allowed them to use the song for the movie.
That's really cool. Good on Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin. I mean, it makes sense. They are like one of the rock bands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Apparently there was an animated prequel series called Charlie's Angels Animated Adventures that came out, I think, while marketing this movie. And that show explains how the angels got there and their mission concluded by the very introduction of the film, apparently. Yeah. So, and and I saw this last night. So Drew Barrymore, not Drew Barrymore. So Demi Moore appeared on Drew Barrymore's talk show while she was promoting The Substance, and mentioned that for this movie she had 3 weeks to prepare, and apparently was nervous on taking the role because of her age at the time, which was 40 when she filmed the movie, and apparently only remembers telling McGee to not shoot her butt during the bikini scene.
No, fair. Yep. My
Yeah.
one rule: do not shoot my butt. Everything else is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. It's funny. And the final one I had, so apparently a third and fourth installment was initially supposed to go into production, but after the box office disappointment for this movie, Sony canceled plans for any further sequels, but then they got a soft reboot with the 2019 Charlie's Angels movie.
And then that one didn't take off either.
Yeah, because I remember that one came out the same time that Ford versus Ferrari came out, and I decided to see for.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw a Ford versus Ferrari, but I think for that one I saw advanced screening for that movie. But yeah, with that Charlie's Angels, that one just did not look appeasing based off the trailer. But I did later on saw it on Prime Video, and honestly, that movie was terrible.
really? Even
It
like the song that they had in the movie with like Lana Del Rey, Ariana Grande, and Miley Cyrus?
I
That
mean,
didn't save it?
the song was okay, like, but yeah, which just was not good at all
Fair.
with that movie. And I saw apparently Kristen Stewart said in a Variety interview that she hated working on that movie.
Yeah. She got a lot of hate for it too. Like it was not a good time for her.
Yeah, because I think because like she's been focusing on working on more like art house type movies, I guess people wondered why say
why
yes
she
to
was
the.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I were to guess, but yeah.
It's very interesting that this movie was slated for like a third and fourth because in that era, like early 2000s, movies did have trilogies a lot. There were a lot of movie trilogies.
Yeah.
So I guess this one really must have sucked if they didn't want to make a third one.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a third movie like with this cast, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
It'd be cool if they did something like, now with that cast and everything.
Yeah, but who will play Bosley?
What if you open it up to the Angels? Have one of them play Bosley.
Perhaps, yeah, maybe, maybe. I mean, we'll
It's up to
see.
McG. It's not up to us.
Yeah, for sure. So, lastly, I mean, the important question: should this movie be rediscovered? What do you think, Khalif?
I think this one should be rediscovered. The first one was kind of iffy, but this one's very much campier and funnier. I found.
Wow. So for me, it doesn't work as a whole because obviously the flaws are just very noticeable. But I would say there's aspects for this movie to enjoy. But for me, I preferred the first movie over the second movie. But I would say, yeah, check it out. But proceed with caution, I would say.
Very fair. Good
Yeah.
warning. Good warning for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So that pretty much concludes this episode of the podcast. So, Cleve, if you want to share where people could find you and all that stuff.
I think you need to be rediscovering my old episodes. I had a great time watching the other guys and the first Charlie's Angels. So listen to those again. Rediscover more of this podcast. It's a great show. You do a great thing by watching movies again. I don't often do it, but it's a thing that more people should do. You get a lot more perspective.
Absolutely. So for me, you could find me on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at Nomfanelo. You can find the podcast on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at RD Movies Pod. If you want to support the podcast, visit buymeacoffee.com/RD Movies Pod to donate. On Spotify, you can answer the featured poll, leave a comment, and rate the podcast. On Apple Podcasts, you could leave a review and rate the podcast. And you can submit questions, comments, and suggestions by email, which is rediscoveredmovies@gmail.com to be featured on the after show, which will air after the season finale. So after this episode, I will have the after show. So if you really want to submit those, like do them ASAP to be considered. So that pretty much concludes this episode and this season of the podcast. So thank you, Khalif, for being a guest. It's always fun to have you here. So, are there any other final notes you want to share?
Um, Thank you again for having me. It was a wonderful season, wonderful movies. Yeah, just rewatch Charlie's Angels too. It was a fun movie. I had a good time.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.